So Scott, we're here today to talk about the idea of super users and champions when we talk about CRM adoption. When you implemented a CRM in your old company, which was a very large multinational company, huge revenue, did you guys have super users and champions? I mean, how do we even describe what those terms are, and how are they useful to CRM implementations?
Yeah, so we did have super users and champions. The difference would be in those kind of big box CRMs, your super user is going to be typically have to get certification from that CRM company and those kind of things. So it's a little more complicated than what we do at RepFabric or ManuFabric or DistiFabric, right? But the concept's still the same. So there's a champion and there's a super user. And some people think that's the same. It's not, right? The champion is a person who's really sponsoring the project, right?
Okay.
Who's saying, hey, this is where we're going, guys. This is what we're doing.
Now, is that the VP of sales typically, or the owner of the company?
That's great. It depends on the size of the company, right?
Okay.
So, for instance, a small rep firm, 5-person rep firm, it's going to be the owner of the company, right? It's going to be the partner or two.
And they're saying what? Hey, we need to implement systems to get our life under control.
We want to create sales efficiency.
Okay.
There's 2 basic ways to grow sales, right? You can either hire more people or become more efficient. And these companies that want to grow, or at least be able to measure their business better, understand that. And they don't want to hire more people, right? They want to become more efficient. That's why they put a CRM tool in.
Right.
And so they have to champion it with their people and say, hey, guys, this is where we're going. I'm driving the bus. Everybody get on and let's go, right? Let's go grow.
So do you think that same person also needs to be able to push all the buttons, does the implementation, understands how every little nook and cranny of a system works?
No. Yeah. I felt that was a leading question.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, not at all. In fact, I mean, that's typically going to be a recipe for disaster, unless it's a small firm and the owner of the firm is very technology savvy, right? In that case, maybe those overlap. But typically, if you have more than, let's say, 5 or 6 people, the champion and super user are 2 different people. The champion's going to be the head of sales or the owner. Big companies, it's going to be the VP of sales, like my old role, right? Saying this is where we're going. But you need those people on the super user side that can go in and push all the buttons, that can help do things like change subtables or change labels or help people with canned email pitches or those kind of things. Like they
more
have,
the technicians.
Correct.
Right.
And so you're looking for someone who, and it's not, a lot of people are like, oh, I need a young person. It's not age-based, right? But it's people who are technology savvy and also have a passion for it too. So that's what you identify in your company.
And one of the things that I think is also important is that the same people have the respect of the salespeople that they are serving.
Right.
Like
Absolutely.
They're looked at as an additional tool, like sales operations is one of the terms we hear a lot. I need someone who's a sales operations person to help us run our systems, right? And gain those efficiencies. So, I think the other thing is that leads into adoption to a degree, where in your examples, when you're the vice president and the champion, what did you want to have and how did you drive adoption down? And then how did your super users help you with that adoption amongst maybe the lesser tech savvy people on your team?
Yeah, so the couple things as a champion is, number one, you said, does the champion have to push all the buttons? The answer is no. But in my opinion, the champion does have to push some buttons. You have to still lead by example, right? So you're going to want to be using the system yourself. Now, in my case, I wasn't making nearly as many calls as my team was, but I was still using the system to record the calls I did make, so that when we had a leaderboard, I was somewhere on it, right? I wasn't going to be the top, but I was somewhere on it, saying, no, I use it too, right?
Yep.
That's one thing. You got to lead by example as a champion. But the other thing you have to do as a champion is you got to take the feedback from your team that's coming on and using it and saying, when they're saying this isn't working for me, and find out why, and then get your super user involved to make it work for them, right? Because it's probably not a problem with the system itself. It's probably just how it's set up, and it just needs to be tweaked for that salesperson or those salespeople, right? So that's why that relationship between the super user and the sales team is important. The relationship between the super user and the champion is important too, right?
Right. What we see just in our own adoption amongst our own customers, if you would agree, is that those super users often, let's say, don't understand why their low adopters are low adopters.
Right.
And without that champion saying, guys, this is something that is just, in a sense, going to help you. Please get involved.
Right.
Please move the ball forward here and help us all succeed, right? The super user will aid you in that.
Right.
Right. It's not something you can just ignore.
Right.
And
it's an optional activity anymore.
Yeah, it's not an optional activity. And I think some of that goes back to those initial goals that you might have had, that when you put in the systems to begin with, you had goals and you said, okay, here's 5 to 15 numbers that I want to understand are happening in my business so that I could report to my boss. And in the case of manufacturers reps, you have 20 bosses, which are the bosses of your manufacturers that you represent, right? Yeah. And so what are those 5 to 15 numbers that are helping you run your business that the rest of your team is helping you get your arms around by putting the information into the system?